The Central Florida Christian Chamber and Triangle Media welcome you to the Builders Podcast, spotlighting Christian business leaders and their stories of faith, leadership, and success.
Hi, everyone, and we want to welcome you today to the Builders Podcast. I'm Krystal Parker, the president of the Central Florida Christian Chamber of Commerce, and I am so excited to introduce you to a dear friend, chamber member, and just a brilliant mind that has a very unique perspective to bring to our chamber members through our professional development series. This is a hybrid series, so you can attend virtually and in person, I suppose, depending on how you want to be there. Robert is going to be coming in from Atlanta. Are you going to be live or are you going to be in person?
Me?
Yeah.
I am going to be driving all the way down from Atlanta to be with you guys in person.
Oh, thank you so much for that. And Robert, I don't know if people have had a chance to Google you or to see what you're about. I know that we've got a chance to spend some time together, and I was just so impressed with your background and what you've done in the past, and then what God's been doing through you now, and your heart to give to others and to sow into the Christian businesses. Could you just give people a little bit about your background and why you're even here today?
Okay, so I am a CPA. I spent most of my career in corporate management. That's more than 35 years. And my current business practice is as a consultant, a CFO consultant, which means I help my clients, mainly large businesses, with their financial management, their business strategy. I do a lot of turnaround consulting, which is when a larger business is in difficulty and they need a plan and a strategy to turn the business around to bring it back from loss-making to profitability. So a lot of my consulting time is spent doing that for my clients. Most of my clients are here in the US, but I also have a few very large ones in the Caribbean, particularly Trinidad, which is where I'm from originally. And so that's my main thrust. My business focus is on consulting. But my ministry focus, over the years, I have helped a lot of businesses become very successful. And what I have found is that a lot of the wealth that's created from secular businesses remain with the business owners and their descendants, and very little of it gets plowed back in to help anyone else. It's basically a tax write-off if they do, but there's no real intent to bless others and even to advance God's kingdom. And I don't feel comfortable doing that the way I have been in corporate life before. And so my focus now is to start my ministry, which is to help Christian business owners, particularly small business owners, to manage their businesses more successfully. And that's why I set up this ministry, Kingdom Business Builders. It's a nonprofit. I am hoping to sow my time and my efforts into that and to provide some free advice to Christian business owners.
Wow, that's such a wonderful gift. I believe that there's a dichotomy of a successful business, and I think it's equal parts leadership and equal parts strategy. And I think a lot of times leaders have a real good focus on leadership and they're all into the people, or they seem to really focus on strategy and they're all into the accounting, the finance, and that. And
Yes.
we've really, through this professional development series, we've really been focused on a well-balanced leader. And you really bring in a niche that I think is extremely important to have the conversation. I know you mentioned that, and I don't want to get into giving it all away, but I know that you mentioned that you're going to give some tips or some structural things that people can walk out of there with. Without telling us what they are, could you just kind of let people know what to expect?
Okay. So in my experience, there are three main factors that drive the financial success of a business. I'm not going to tell you what they are now, but these are basic principles. And so if we can get control or an understanding and application of those three factors, then we are well on our way. And those factors apply to businesses, whether they are a small mom and pop business or a multi-million-dollar corporation. It's the same principles that we must follow in order to succeed. So what I will be unpacking for you is the basic steps, the key elements. And it's logic driven. When you see the logic of what is being presented, you will say, okay, I understand why now. And so I'm going to stay away from a lot of numbers. When people hear CPA, they think, okay, this is going to be a snooze fest. It's going to be a lot about numbers. I don't teach like that. I teach principles. And so that's what we're going to be unpacking. The real tools, real life applications for your business. A lot of times business owners get stuck and they don't know how to move forward. And sometimes they need a push, or sometimes they need a change of direction. And if we can get a hold of these three concepts, then it will provide that guidance for us to make the decisions to move forward.
Excellent. And do you see the people in the audience being somebody that's handling the finance for a company, or would a CEO or even of a larger company, would they find value in hearing what you're going to share?
Yeah, this is not for the CFOs and the finance people. This is for the business owners, the CEOs, chairman of the board, the people who actually focus on the business of the business. And so it's going to help particularly small business owners who don't have access to this information, because sometimes, to get a consultant to do this for you, it's going to cost money. So I want to give you, the owner of the business, the ability to understand what the technical side of managing the business is all about.
Excellent. And Robert, I saw something on your website about being wise as a serpent. And that, we talked a little about it, but I just wondered if you kind of share a little behind that. I'm assuming that you're not going to get into that too much on the professional development, but I just find it so fascinating and so interesting, your take on that.
Okay, so when Jesus was sending his disciples out into the world, he said to them, "Behold, I send you forth as sheep among wolves. Be therefore as wise as serpents, but as harmless as doves." Now, Jesus, the Lord, our mandate from him is to go into the world of business to have an impact for his kingdom there. And to do that, we have to follow the advice, as wise as serpents, but as harmless as doves. Now, the serpent is not, in our natural understanding of a serpent is a cunning creature that is potentially venomous. But we're not talking about cunning, we're talking about wisdom. And so wisdom is peaceable. Wisdom comes from God, and it enables us to function at a level beyond what anyone else can function at. Because once we have God's wisdom, we have the ability to function and operate at a higher level. And so being as wise as serpents means that we are plugged into God, his principles, his word. And when we do that, he downloads into us the strategies that are needed for us to be able to compete. A lot of times I hear people, Christian business owners, say, how do I compete against businesses in the world that are able to bend and break the rules? How do I do that and maintain my integrity? And it all depends on the wisdom that God gives to us, because God does not want us functioning in shades of gray and doing the things that the world does to advance itself. He wants us to function in wisdom. And so that's what that statement is all about. It's pointing us in the direction of being as wise as serpents based on God's input into our lives.
Have you always been a follower of the Lord?
Yeah, I became a Christian at the age of 19 back in Trinidad and Tobago. I was a young man in the disco era, enjoying my life, having a good time. And then the Lord arrested me. What happened was that I got saved at my employer's office, strange enough. And it was I had a traumatic experience, and I went to the Lord in a car park just by myself and said, "Lord, I can't deal with this. I need your help. I need your intervention." And that's when I became a Christian, when I yielded myself to him. And I have been endeavoring to please the Lord in my life ever since. And he's taken me down some really interesting paths. some of which were really challenging times, but all in all, he was faithful and he was kind, he was loving. There was a time when my life, it's possible for us to lose our souls. When scripture talks about not losing our souls, we think of that sometimes as losing our souls for all eternity. But I believe that it's possible for us to lose our souls, our sanity, our grip on God little by little in life. Yeah. And if we get caught up in the world and its business and the money and the chase of all of that, you're going to find that you're going to lose a little part of you. You're going to disconnect from God at some point in time. And that happened to me as a corporate consultant, as a corporate executive, as a CFO and CEO of some very large companies. I got so wrapped up, even though I was a Christian, wrapped up in the business of making money that I began to lose perspective on what God wanted me to do. And so when David talks about he restores my soul, that is what God literally did to me in the middle part of my career and then put me on a different path, finding his purpose.
It's a beautiful story. I had a similar situation too. I mean, I think that money is a people tiptoe around the topic of money. And I think that it is a competitor to God, because when you have enough money, you can pay to make your problems go away. Yeah. And it's easy to lose sight as God, your provider, when you have all the money and all the success and all the power, and you're chasing that instead of chasing him. Seek ye first the kingdom and of God. And so it's a blessing that you've spun your company into a nonprofit. And so how do you balance that, Robert? Because you've got your for-profit side, but then the nonprofit side. So how do you balance that, and what precludes somebody coming to you that could actually pay for your services to get the nonprofit piece? How do you draw that line?
Okay, so I have clients that pay me to provide hard consulting. So this is me getting involved in the financial strategy and providing the advice and so on. On the nonprofit side, what I am doing is making myself available to help in very short periods of time. And there is not going to be a fee for that. Ultimately, I am hoping and trusting that the Lord will transition me financially from consulting for money to being involved in a nonprofit that provides financial guidance, but depends on contributions from people, not charging fees. I don't want to have to charge fees. So right now, I'm sort of making a very slow transition from consulting to sort of helping Christian business owners based on their needs. It's going to be a tough thing because I am really dependent on my clients. I have some wonderful clients that will not let me go. But at the end of the day, I want to pursue what God's plan is for my life. And I remember Ravi Zacharias, the teacher before he passed, he said that at the end of the day, it is not what we do and the accolades that we achieve and all of that matters. What really matters is, what does God think of me? And so I hear that in my life a lot. What does God think? What does he want from me? Where is he positioning me? And I suspect that it will be to move towards that nonprofit more and more over time. We'll see.
Yeah, wow. Oh, I'm so excited for the community to get to know you and to be blessed by what you're going to sow into their life. Robert, you've been a Christian Chamber member for a while now, but you live out of state. So can you tell a little bit about that experience and how being a member of our Christian Chamber out of state and how you came to even know about the Christian Chamber?
Well, there was a time in my life not too long ago where I was working for a very significant client in South Florida. And so I had to sort of move there temporarily to service this client. And while in South Florida, I began to look around to see if there were any Christian chambers, because good Christian chambers like this one, Krystal, are extremely hard to find. I have looked throughout Atlanta. I find some of them, but a lot of times there isn't the balance and the focus on both biblical and business. And so they, you know, I don't mean to be critical, but I haven't found anything like this. So when I got wind of this chamber, I began to reach out to Mark, and it grew from there. I began to drive all the way from South Florida to Orlando to attend meetings, and then drive back to South Florida in Broward County. And then when I transitioned back to my base here in Atlanta, I just maintained the relationship. Thank God for Zoom. Thank God for all of those electronic hookups that we have now.
Right.
So I am able to stay connected, but I really want to give more. I really want to help more. I really want to see small Christian business owners develop financially and to find their purpose in God, because I believe that if we can do that, then God's kingdom advances. And so that's really where my heart is.
Well, and I really hope that people have had a chance to just get to hear your heart and to see your heart in this little bit of time that we had together. I know, and just in case somebody missed your promo video talking about what they can expect, you issued a challenge. You issued a challenge. So could you just make sure you could share that with the folks that are listening now on this podcast so that they can participate as well?
Sure. Okay, so what I am doing is I am giving a prize to anyone who can answer this riddle. And so the prize is an Amazon gift card. And the riddle is, explain to me what this means in a business context. The eye of the farmer fattens the cow. The eye of the farmer fattens the cow. So explain that to me. Give me a business application of that, and you've won yourself the first person. Now, I have one $25 gift card. I don't have 2,000. I have one. So the first person to answer that, the most accurately gets this prize. You can email your responses to Krystal. And Krystal, do you mind being the recipient of all of? Okay, good.
That way I can pick the answer I want the best.
Okay, the company and its employees and its associates are not going to be part of this.
Okay.
This thing. So Krystal, you're out.
Okay, but I want to have a talk with you offline because I think I know what it might mean to me.
Sure.
Great. Oh, that's great. So any final thoughts that you want to leave our audience with? And then, of course, they'll be able to get a hold of you because your information is on the screen here. But let's go ahead and tell people how to get a hold of you and then offer a final thought.
Okay. You can contact me via email at robert@kingdombusinessbuilders.org. That's just one address, kingdombusinessbuilders.org, robert@kingdombusinessbuilders.org. You can check out my website, www.kingdombusinessbuilders.org. Final thoughts would be that as believers, we have a responsibility to advance God's kingdom. And there are two things that drive that. We need to have successful businesses because without business success, we can't be relevant in the marketplace. So we need business success, but we also need to understand God's purpose in all of this. Mm-hmm. And so I encourage you as Christian business owners to apply yourself to both business discipline as well as biblical principles. And as we do that, the Lord promises to bless us. Psalms 1:1-3 says, if we do all that, whatsoever we do will prosper. And so I encourage you to pursue God's agenda for your life and for your business and to focus on its success.
Wow. Well, we are already thankful and honored. I just invite everyone to come out. This is members only. But guys, if you're not a member, look at our membership fees because you're getting 12 months of professional development. And if you just heard that podcast with Robert, you'll understand the level of professionalism and how you will be able to grow in your business by being in the room or being on the Zoom. I'm Krystal Parker, president of the Central Florida Christian Chamber of Commerce, and I am thrilled to see you at the Professional Development Series on Friday, November the 6th at noon with Robert Fullerton, you're going to be able to manage your way to success from the CFO's perspective. And let me tell you, it's a Christian CFO's perspective. He's not going to get it wrong. He's not going to point you wrong. And you're going to be spoken into in your business by someone that has a heart and is chasing Christ, but he's got a brain that can help you, give you some real tools to help you be successful. So we will see you there. Bye.
Bye.
This has been the Builders Podcast, presented by the Central Florida Christian Chamber and produced by Triangle Media. If you're interested in having a program like this for your business, contact Suzanne Lynn at trianglemedia.biz.